Hi guys, welcome back. This is Marc Brunet with QBrush.com, and I'm back today with another video tutorial. This is going to be the follow-up video to the line art video that I did 2 weeks ago now. Yeah, forgive me, it's been a while. I've just had a child, so that explained it. Yeah, I've been quite busy, but I just found some time today to get back into this painting. So I thought I would do a quick video about it. So as you notice, I'm splitting this up in different parts. So the first part was the line art, as you know. This is going to be just about grayscale, and then the next part, the last part, is going to be about coloring. The reason why I split those those phases up in different videos, because those are the steps that I would recommend anybody that's not an experienced artist to follow. And the reason why I say this is because this is the best way that I found for them after mentoring a lot of people for a long time. This is the best way that I found for them to get the best results for their painting. So the logic is you just focus on one thing at a time, and you go sort of down the list on things to check, and then once you reach the bottom, you're pretty much done. So the first one, create a solid line art. What it does is that it forces you to focus on design mostly and composition. So that's about it. And obviously like anatomy and all this stuff. But while you're doing that, you don't have to worry about shading. You don't have to worry about color or anything like that. So if you want to iterate, it's a lot easier because you don't have shading to fix or colors to fix. So first phase, line art. And then once you're done, once you have the solid line art, you move on to the grayscale phase, where this is what I'm doing right now, where you imagine sort of a light setup in your scene, and then you paint light and shadows onto your line art as if it was being lit by those light sources. And after that, you move on to the colors, and you'll see all about that next video. But the reason why I say this is the best way to do it is because of two things, really. So the first one is, well, if you're going to be an illustrator, for example, this is probably the steps you're going to be using to interact with your clients. So the client's going to ask first for sketches, so it's going to be even looser than the first phase in this case. So it's going to be just rough sketches, and then you do a bunch of them, and then the client is going to pick one that he likes, and then you push that sketch to a final line art, and then you send that back, and then if they accept it, then you move on to this stage that we're working on right now, which is the values. And sometimes you'll mix the values and the colors. So after the sketch is approved, you'll be able to sort of just push it to almost final before the next review. But in this case, I'm going to split it in two because it's just very, very easy to approach this way, to approach the coloring this way, because this is something a lot of people struggle with. But yeah, so the first reason, like I said, client interaction. That's a pretty good reason already. That's how you're going to be working if you ever plan on doing this for money. And yeah, the second reason is, if you've never done this before, if you have very, very little experience or not that much experience doing this, it's always better to follow a recipe, kind of the same way that I guess like a beginner chef will follow a recipe and not try to wing a dish that he's never done before, because most likely it's gonna end up crap, unless you're cooking bacon. So the idea behind it is that you follow a recipe that is proven to be working great, such as this one. I've had a lot of success with this. It's very, very easy to go about it. Sketch, grayscale, and then coloring using gradients. Super simple stuff. And then each of those different steps allows you to sort of focus on very certain aspects of the painting instead of just going at it and then sort of tackling everything at once, which can be very, very overwhelming for a lot of people, especially if you're not experienced. So yeah, kind of the more experience you get, kind of the same way as if you were a chef, you get really, really good at it, and then at some point you don't need to follow recipes anymore. You look at a bunch of ingredients and you're like, yep, I know what to do with this, and it's going to be delicious. And that's kind of the same with in this case. So as you've seen in the past, when I do some of the speed paints, I tend to skip a lot of stuff, and it's just because I've done it so many times, and I can sort of skip ahead and do the other parts in my head that I would normally recommend people actually do when they're learning. you know, in the early stages of their path. So what I've been doing up until now is, like I said in the beginning of the video, you kind of imagine you have a light setup in your scene. So I always recommend to the people I mentor to sort of draw it in their scenes. I didn't do it here, but it's because it's pretty obvious. So you have the one that comes from the top and that kind of hits the table that you don't see on the scene, but it's there. You know, there's those pots on a table, and then that light acts as the bounce light because it bounces back to the character, onto the character, and onto those pots, and probably, you know, you'll probably see it on the fingers a little bit. So you have the top light, and then the bounce light from the desk, and then the light that is sort of being emitted from the flower thing. So those are my lights, and that's sort of what I keep in the back of my mind, you know, throughout this entire process, to make sure that it's as obvious as possible where the light's coming from, because this is you know, this step, that's what it's all about. So as you can see, what I've done so far is initially I just blocked in all the you know, the base shadow, so not thinking too much about where the light was coming from, just giving some volume to my lines. And then after that, you know, as I do the second pass on everything, so I'm just going over it and sort of emphasizing the light setups, the light setup that I've sort of imposed on myself. And yeah, just cleaning up everything and making sure, you know, everything reads well. So, you know, the composition theory behind this is that, you know, you always want to have your focal point or your main subject be as contrasting as possible, as opposed to the rest of your scene, where you know, stuff that you don't want the eyes to be attracted to too much, you tend to lower the contrast a little bit. So you can imagine everything in the back of my scene. So this scientist guy, this crazy scientist guy, right now I'm not worrying about it too much, but a little bit later I'm going to be toning down his contrast a lot so that it doesn't sort of stand out too much, so that the first thing that you notice really is the main character in the scene, and then after that your eyes sort of wander in the back of the scene, and you're like, oh, okay, there's a guy back there. The reason why you know, contrast plays a role like this, it's just how the brain works, really. It's just you know, anything that is very contrasting, so anything that has really deep blacks and really bright whites tends to attract the attention a lot more. It's just something unconscious that, you know, you'll just be attracted to it more, and you can use that to sort of emphasize certain aspects or certain parts of your painting and de-emphasize others. So what like I said, so I'm gonna, you know, anything that you don't want the eye to notice too much, just lower the contrast on it. So yeah, I'm pretty much finishing up here. So I'm done with all my parts. I've gone through all the different planes in my scenes. I have the foreground, I have sort of this guy, which is the second plane. I have the background, which is the last one, and you can see this is sort of represented in my layers. But yeah, so I'm gonna be pretty much done with the black and white version, the grayscale version of this painting. I'm gonna be all good to start coloring in the next video. So I hope you guys enjoyed the process. I hope you learned a thing or two, and I will see you guys in the next video. And bye bye.